StraighTAllDay.com.
Tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is the thing before the thing. And I'll get into what that means in a moment. Before I do, remind you of two things. First of all, daily motivation and Monday motivation text messages guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your day or your week, respectively. When we start sending those again, you'll want to get those. You want to be in my texting community. It is free to join. Just hit me at this number, 305-384-6894. Once we start sending those messages out again, you'll be getting them straight to your phone. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That's the place where I do all my coaching. If you would like to have me as your direct coach, be able to share with me your challenges, your needs, your desires, tell me what you're working on, show me what you're working on, and get direct feedback from me about what you are doing, what you can do, and depending on the level of program that you join, get direct help with me implementing what you are working on. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link is down below in the description to this video. That out the way, let's get into the topic, which is the thing before the thing. I got to thinking about this subject because I was in the gym a few weeks ago from when I'm recording this, and this guy, he's a little bit younger than me. He's probably in his 20s. He's a boxer, and he was asking me because he was talking about he was saying to me, "What time do you get to the gym?" Because I had seen him in the gym a couple of days earlier, and we had met and just talked a little bit. Then I saw him in the gym a couple of days later, and I was on my way. I was almost done my workout, and he was just starting his workout. And I was telling him I was almost done. He was saying he was just getting started. He was like, "Man, what time do you get to the gym?" I was telling him I got there pretty early. And then he was saying, "Man, that's my problem. I need to get to the gym earlier." This guy's an actual boxer. He's saying this. He said, "Man, that's my problem. I need to get to the gym earlier." So his challenge was just the discipline of getting up early and getting to the gym early. And I told him that I wake up early. And we started to have this little exchange talking about waking up early and stuff like that. And he said, "Well, how are you able to wake up so early in the morning so that you can get to the gym early in the morning?" And I said to him, "Well, it's simple. I just go to bed early." And then we both laughed about it. And we talked a little bit more about it, and then we went our separate ways. But it got me thinking about this topic here today, because that's what I'm referring to when I say the thing before the thing. In other words, it's about how can we do certain things so many steps removed from the thing that we actually want to do that sets us up to be successful. I'll explain exactly what I mean by that as we get into this topic. So no more introduction. Let's get straight to the points. Point number one. Topic once again today is the thing before thing. Number one, strategy is about long-term thinking, or thinking about the long game, whatever the long game is. The long game means thinking or considering what things am I doing now, and what are the long-term ramifications of those things? Not just what's going to happen this moment if I do this, but what's going to happen a week from now, a year from now, a month from now, based on the things that I'm doing. For example, when I record this show, I'm recording this show right now this week. I know I got to do a good amount of recording because last week I was traveling and I did zero recording of the show. And even though I always record way ahead, I'm always several episodes ahead. I'm probably 3 or 4 weeks ahead of time when it comes to recording right now. I like to be even more ahead than that. I like to be like twice as much as that. I like to be like 8 to 10 weeks ahead of time. So if I want to take a month off, I could, and I'm not going to run out of material. And if I didn't tell you, none of you would even know that I took a month off from recording because the material continues to come out. So when I record episodes of this show, like this one I'm recording right here, this is not going to come out. The public will not hear what I'm recording right now until probably 5 or 6 weeks from the day that I'm doing it. The point is, I'm thinking long term here. See, the recording I'm doing today is not about today. The recording I'm doing today is about 5, 6 weeks from now, just in case I don't want to record, or for whatever reason I cannot record, or whatever. Maybe I just want to get even further ahead, and I keep recording. I never stop. I just want to get even further ahead, so I already have this material ready. Strategizing, the very concept is about thinking long term for what you're doing, not just thinking about what you're doing in the moment. Tactics are much more about in the moment. Somebody does something here, and then you do something else, and then you do something else, and then you do something else to affect this situation, this situation, this situation. That's tactical. It's like something happens, you respond. Something happens, you react. That's tactical. And being good tactically is a good thing, because your ability to respond or react to a situation in front of you does matter, because there are times when we need to respond or react to a situation in front of us. However, when it comes to the big picture of our lives, we want to think long term, because you're going to be around hopefully 10 years from now. And hopefully some of the things you do today are making your life 10 years from now easier than it is right now. All right. So you want to be thinking, how do the things that I do today set me up for more success tomorrow? That's the whole point. So this means thinking steps ahead of the outcome that you wish to achieve, because you may not be able to achieve the outcome right now in the moment. Sometimes you can, but sometimes you cannot, the outcome that you want ultimately. But what can I do now that sets me up to achieve that outcome, even if I don't get it right now in the moment? So for example, if you want to get in great shape, but right now you're not in great shape, you're not going to go from not in shape to amazing shape in one day. But if you start, as the example that I use, you go to the gym on a consistent basis, even though this first week that you go to the gym, you're still not in great shape. But these steps that you're taking now are setting you up to be in a little bit better shape next week, and a week after that, and a week after that. And then who knows, 6 months from now, you may actually be in that great shape that you're describing. So not sometimes, but many times, you want to be thinking long term, and what are the long-term ramifications of every activity that I'm doing. And if you can't point to any long-term ramifications, well, maybe you should be questioning whether or not you should even do the thing at all. Because when you're really thinking on a high level strategically, you can do things that serve you today and will serve you in the future at the same time. What are those things? And the more you think about this stuff, and the better you get at insight, and the better you get at strategic thinking and thinking long term, the better you'll be able to choose actions that can serve you in the moment and serve you in the future, and stacking these actions on top of each other. So over time, you start to get the ROI from all your actions in the past. They all start kind of coming home to roost, so to speak. Those investments start to mature for you over time, and you want this happening consistently, which means you got to be making consistent inputs in order to get consistent outputs. So some people will refer to this whole concept of strategizing, long-term thinking. You may call it deconstructing the goal. That's similar to what I'm describing here. So knowing what you want to achieve, what are the steps that will lead to that action? And the better you can think in this way, the more strategic of a thinker you will become. And at the same time, being able to break things down in this way requires you to have a depth of knowledge on the thing that you're strategizing for. In other words, don't try to strategize for something that you don't really know that well, because you will only end up creating a strategy that will lead you into a dead end, because you don't know enough to really make a strategy that's going to work. And this is the reason why we just talked about this in a 3-part series before this episode, why you tap into the brains of other people, because they know stuff you don't know. All right? They can do things that you can't do. They understand things that you don't quite understand. So don't try to figure everything out on your own. That's the long way to do things, especially when you can do it a lot faster by tapping into somebody else's knowledge, and with respect to the fact that we have a limited amount of time. So anytime you are spending time, need to be very, very vigilant about how much time you're spending and why you're spending that time, and if there's a better way, because time is the most expensive thing you can spend. So you cannot strategize, or you can't strategize, let's say, how to create a successful podcast, for example, if you don't have a depth of knowledge of how podcasts work, or how to draw an audience, and what keeps people engaged. If you don't know those things, then how can you strategize for that? Because you don't know what you're doing. Or you can't strategize how to launch a book successfully if you don't know a lot about the book industry, or about selling books, readers, your readers, and audiences. So the foundation of a strategy, folks, is actually having some knowledge. You got to have a depth of knowledge in the thing that you're doing. I did a whole series on depth of knowledge in episode number 2787, if you have not heard it yet. So in a book called The Art of War, written by Sun Tzu, if you read that, you'll learn more about understanding the foundations of what Sun Tzu calls terrain, because in that book, he's talking about actual warfare on the battlefield. But the book is written in very plain language. So when you read it, you can draw parallels between what he's saying on the battlefield, and draw parallels to the business world and to everyday life. You could even use it in the sports world, anywhere where you're going to war, where you're going to be battling, where there's some force going against you that you had to defeat in order to be successful, which is basically everything you do in life, because you're only as good as what you come up against and what you defeat. And The Art of War is a great strategy guide for you understanding that. So if you have not read the book called The Art of War by Sun Tzu, that's SUNTZU, make sure you go get it and read it. Point number 2, today's topic, once again, is the thing before the thing. Number 2, the next step is how to do it. So the first step was deconstructing, is just thinking long term, or how do I actually get to where I want to go? Next step, once you have somewhat of a plan here, is to ask yourself, how do I actually do these things? So there's one thing to have a plan, there's another thing to execute a plan. Knowing what it is, because we're talking about doing it, whatever it is, and being lost as to how to do it will still leave you stuck. See, if you don't know what it is and or you are lost as in how to get to it, you're still in the same spot. You're still stuck. Even if you have a plan, but you can't execute on the plan because you don't know what to do. It's kind of like if there was something wrong with my car under the hood, and I know there's something wrong with the car under the hood, but I don't know how to fix it. Well, I'm still stuck. All right. I know there's something under the hood of this car needs to be fixed, but I don't know what, and I wouldn't know what to do with it even if I didn't know what. I'm still stuck. So again, this is why I would tap into the brains of other people and the knowledge and the skills and even the time of other people, because the mechanic that I'm going to pay to fix my car, he's going to spend an hour fixing the car. I'm not going to spend an hour fixing the car. I'm going to write some articles or catch up on my email or be spending time with my son while he's doing work. All right. And I'm paying for that work. All right. So it's not like they're doing me a favor. I'm paying for it. So this insight and knowledge, folks, that I'm describing here and giving you examples of, this is worth investing in. And if you're a high level performer, you should already understand this. If you're not a high level performer, this is something that you need to come to understand and emotionally accept, such that you are not doing what most low level performers do, which is spending time as opposed to spending money in order to get things done. This is a very slow thing to get done. You don't never want to use your time in exchange for money. I talked about this in episode number, I've talked about a whole lot of episodes, but most recently episode 2897. Do not spend time to save money. See, there's good news and bad news about what I just said. The good news is there are a lot of sources from which you can choose when it comes to finding information. You get information from damn near anywhere and everywhere. Everybody's putting out some form of information, whether it's good or bad is up to you to figure out, but there's information out there everywhere. Bad news is because there are so many sources, it's hard to make a decision about where to begin, who to choose, how to discern whether information is good or not, and whether or not it will help you. All right, these are the challenges with getting information from so many different sources and there being so many places from which to grab information. So another aspect of this that is a challenge is that someone tells you how to do something, but you don't have a fundamental understanding of why you're doing it. So somebody told you what to do, but you don't understand why you're doing it. You're still operating in the dark, which means you might be able to produce a result. Hopefully you do. Problem is you don't know how or why you did it, which means it'd be hard for you to replicate your success. Or if something isn't working at some point, you have no idea how to even diagnose why something's not working because you don't even understand the thing that you're doing. So you're just blindly following what was told to you, and you don't know how to diagnose or fix it because you don't even know what you're doing. You're just doing what you were told, but you don't know why you're doing it, what the understanding is behind it, and you don't understand the foundational principles governing the strategies or the tactics that you are executing on. This is something I talk about in my university all the time, especially with a lot of my coaching members, helping them understand. Yes, all right, this is a tactic that you could do. You could execute on this tactic. And tactics are things that almost everyone understands because all you got to do is look at something, you can see the tactics. Many people don't understand the strategies that govern tactics, and very few people understand the principles that are the foundation upon which strategies are built. And this is the reason why many people end up lost, even though all of us have access to so much information is ridiculous. How we have access to so much information, yet we still end up lost because information is not the key. That's why. So it's difficult to replicate success or to even diagnose an issue that comes along the way if you don't understand anything above the tactical level. And this is the reason why many people live in the space that I call tactical hell. I talked about tactical hell in episode number, see if I can find it. That was episode number 2328, how to get out of tactical hell. So you are flying blindly when you're living in tactical hell because you're just going from action to action to action. And action is a good thing. We talk about action bias as one of the 12 work on your game commandments. However, action without an understanding of why you're doing it is not a good thing because all that leads to is burnout and frustration. And this is why investment in your depth of knowledge matters so much. When you work with me, for example, in Work on Your Game University, you're not only going to understand what to do, but you're going to understand why you're doing it. So that means your knowledge is increasing as you're working with me. You're not just getting things done. There's another level to it. Moving on to point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is the thing before the thing. So I told you about Sun Tzu's Art of War. Let me tell you something that Sun Tzu said in the Art of War. He said, people can see the tactics through which I win, but no one can see the strategies that govern those tactics. This right here is the key to the game. Should I say that sentence again? Not that sentence, but the sentence that Sun Tzu said. He said, people can see the tactics through which I win, but none can see the strategies that govern those tactics. This is the key to the game, what Sun Tzu said. You have to understand the strategies that govern your tactics, because then it makes it easy to swap out tactics as necessary because you know what you're aiming for. If you don't know what you're aiming for, it doesn't matter what tactics you use because you don't have a goal. You don't have a North Star. You don't have anything guiding your actions. See, you got to get out of tactical hell and get strategic about your behaviors if you want to be a higher level performer. All right, this is one of the first steps you have to take. And the first step in doing so is you have to accept that being a consistent, all day, 24-hour tactician is not the key to your outcomes. You're not going to get there doing that. You got to get out of that game. You got to exit that game. An important point about strategy, folks, is that you need not make yourself the main strategist in every aspect of your life. In other words, you don't have to come up with every strategy that you use. You can use strategies that came from someone else. Again, you invest in getting access to other people's strategies. It will save you a ton of time. It will save you a ton of energy and attention because you don't have to figure out if your strategy is right or not. You can just tap into somebody's strategy that is already proven. All you got to do is follow what they tell you to do. So you have to have the humility of a student and follow what they tell you to do. It is already done. And you save yourself a ton of time and you use money in order to save yourself that time because this is the investment that you make. Good news is you can make money back. You can't make time back. So if you have to pick and choose between time and money, I would always give up the money to buy time because time you cannot replenish. Money you can replenish. You can lose a bunch of money. You can make a bunch of money. You cannot lose or make a bunch of time. It's impossible. It goes at a steady pace no matter what you do. So there are people out there who know more than you, who have done more than you, who can help you craft and execute on a winning strategy with much fewer resources and in much less time than you would do by yourself. When I say much fewer resources and much less time, what do I mean by that? I mean, they don't need to think as hard or concentrate as hard to come up with an answer to the challenge that you have because they already know the answer. They don't need to think about it. They already know the answer. It would have took you a week to figure out what to even try. They already know what to do. Those are two different things. In 10 minutes, they can tell you exactly what to do, whereas it would take you a week to even figure out how to even try to begin and hope that it works. Is that worth the investment to buy yourself a week of time? And at the same time, I just told you there's two things they can do. I just told you, with the depth of knowledge, they can do it with much fewer resources and much less time. So they don't have to think as hard and they can do it a lot faster. In other words, their brain doesn't sweat trying to figure out the solution to the problem that you have. Your brain is perspiring and you're on the verge of dehydration because you're working so hard to try to figure things out and you still haven't gotten the answer. Whereas there's someone across the street or across town or across the country or across the globe who has the exact answer to your exact problem. All you got to do is tap into them and stop being cheap and actually invest in yourself so you can move yourself forward. Or do you just want to stay in the same spot and get the guts and glory of doing all the hard work on your own, which again, hard work that may not even lead to the success. Remember, folks, hard work is not the key to success. Hard work is an element of success. It is not the key to success. If all it took to be successful was hard work, then the maintenance man will make more money than the CEO. See, it's what are you working hard on is the question. Not if you're working hard, what are you working hard on? Secondly, the other thing to remember is that there are a few key areas, as I have already stressed to you many times. 3, 2, or 1 area for most humans is either 3 or less, in which every human is an expert. So most people are an expert at either 1 or 2 or 3 things, no more than that. So if you're doing 8 things right now in your life or in your business, at least 5 of those are you're doing inefficiently and you shouldn't even be doing. You should be fired from those jobs because you ain't good enough. There are people out there who are better than you. You can give them money and they can do it better than you can. Or they're equal to you and you should pay them to do it instead of you. Why? So that now you free up the time to focus more of your resources on the 2 or 3 things that you're actually great at. See, if you're doing 7 things and at least 4 of them you ain't great at, which means you're doing them at a mediocre, okay level, you can pay somebody to be mediocre. Now, why are you using your own time to be mediocre? That makes no sense. Use your time to do things that you do excellently, which means the 2 or 3 things that you are best at. If you're doing more than 2 or 3 things, you're doing too much because you're not good at the other things. Everybody follow where I'm at here? So you got to know your areas of expertise. You should be focusing your resources on those areas and then finding or accessing the resources to do all the other stuff that actually needs to get done, but you don't have to do yourself. See, I'm not an expert at editing audio, so I don't edit the audio. I record the audio, I send it out to my audio team, Nico and his team. They take care of that and they get it all posted. I'm not an expert at doing that. I could do it. I ain't terrible at it, but I'm not an expert at it. I'm not great at it. What I'm great at are the things that I do best, like recording this. I'm great at. So that's what I do. I record this and then I get the rest of the stuff to get this out to you all. I get that done by people other than me, so I can stay in my zone of genius. You need to do the same thing for yourself. So you should be focused on your areas, your resources rather, on the areas in which you are great. Again, there's no more than 1, 2, or 3 things. You are not great at 17 things. You're great at 1, 2, or 3 at the most. Okay? And then you get resources to take care of everything else. The stuff that needs to be done, but just not by you, or stuff that just doesn't need to be done at all. Maybe you shouldn't be doing it at all. Many of us are doing a bunch of stuff that's complete waste, useless, but we do it anyway because of habits. So every minute you are not spending in your zone of genius, folks, you are taking away from your own success. Because again, if you're a level 10 at 3 things, but you're doing 7, well, that means you're not spending as much time as possible on the things you're great at. And the things that you do great, those are the things that produce the highest potential for ROI. In other words, you will make the most money when you're doing things that you're amazing at, and you make less money when you're doing things that you're just okay at. Does anybody want to question that? Okay, good. Let's recap today's class, which is the thing before the thing. So again, this came from me talking to some boxer in the gym. He was saying, man, how do you get to the gym so early? I said, well, wake up early. He said, how do you wake up early? I said, go to bed early. All right, so it's the thing before the thing. What's the thing that sets you up to do the thing? Sometimes it's multiple things. Point number 1, strategy is about long game thinking, which means thinking steps ahead of the outcome rather than just the moment that you are in. Because remember, you're going to be alive 10 years from now. Hopefully, you want to make sure the actions you're taking today make 10 years from now easier. Number 2, the next step is how do you actually do it? And you gotta know what it is, and don't be lost about that because you'll still be stuck. Even if you know what the problem is, if you don't know how to fix it, it doesn't matter that you know. All right, it's like if you're playing against Shaquille O'Neal and you know he's gonna back you down around the hoop, turn around and dunk on you. Just because you know he's gonna do it doesn't mean you can do anything about it. So knowing what it is one thing, and being able to do something about it is another thing. And again, you don't have to know everything on your own. You need not gather all this information yourself or hold it all yourself. You just need to be able to tap into something or someone that can and let them do the work. Again, you ain't got to do everything because you ain't good at everything. Number 3, Sun Tzu in The Art of War said, people can see the tactics through which I win, but no one can see the strategies that govern my tactics. This is the key to the game, folks. You got to get out of tactical hell. Stop trying to do everything tit for tat, moment by moment, some stimulus response. All right, that's a good way to burn yourself out, and it's also a good way to put yourself on a treadmill of life because since you can only think about what's happening in a moment, you can never plan for the future, which means you never make the future easier for yourself because you're only focused on the moment. See, this is why you got to get out of tactical hell and focus on strategies so you can start planning for your future. And actions that you take today are actually setting you up to be more successful with less effort tomorrow than you need to put out today. Again, this is all a strategic way of thinking. It's something that I will help you with and work with you on in Work on Your Game University, which if you have not joined yet, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. The link's down below in the description to this video. Work on your game or this audio. Work on your game. Dre all